Herzlich willkommen, a warm welcome to everybody. I'm trying to speak a little bit English and German for the warm-up round. We are starting with the first round now, and I welcome you in the name of Borderline Europe, Human Rights Without Borders, and we are in cooperation today with Bildungswerk, now the correct version is Bildungswerk Berlin, der Heinrich-Böll-Stiftung, and even the Federal Foundation is sponsoring this event. We are going to have a streaming, but we don't want to have pictures today, photos, because the camera will focus on a few people on the panel and not everybody for security reasons, and that's why we don't want to have private pictures. I hand over to Lucia Meisterkamp, who is our moderator today, and invite Halima and Asyat and Tar to the stage.
Hello. Can you hear me? Hi. Welcome. Let's just wait until everyone's here. Yes. Hi, my name is Lucia Meisterkamp. I'm a freelance journalist working for different German media such as Der Spiegel and RBB, and I'll be leading you through this event today together with my colleague Beatrice Bolpen, who's still in the back, but she will be here in a minute. Before we start, let me say a few words about the topic that we want to talk about today. Every year, thousands of migrants and asylum seekers are disappearing on their journey while fleeing from war, violence, or poverty. They disappear without a trace, drowning in the Mediterranean Sea, being exposed in the desert. Some are being kidnapped by traffickers or militias who lock them up until their families pay ransom money. Others are abandoned by state security forces who abandon them in the middle of nowhere without access to food or water. According to the Missing Migrants Project, over 69,000 migrants have been reported to have died since 2014. But let me say that this number only describes a fraction of what actually is happening. Thousands of asylum seekers and refugees die every year without ever being identified, without their families ever being certain of what has happened to those who have disappeared. Today we will hear insights from people who try to shed light on this phenomenon of disappearance. Activists who try to find migrants who have gone missing and document those who have died. One of the causes that leads to disappearance is enforced disappearance. In German, this term can be translated as Verschwindenlassen. And by definition, it means that a person is being forced to disappear by being arrested, detained, or abducted against his or her will, or otherwise deprived of liberty. Enforced disappearance always involves some level of state officials. Those who arrest, who detain, or who abduct are acting on behalf or with the support of the government. There has been an international agreement since 2006 for the protection of all persons from enforced disappearance. It was signed by 98 states, and later today we have the chance to speak with experts about the chances and limitations of that convention. The victims of enforced disappearance are often citizens of the state who arrests or detains political opponents, activists, or journalists. However, today we also want to talk about how the concept of enforced disappearance links to migration and to the migrants who disappear.
Yes. So the leading question, as you can grab for her speech, is how the migrants disappear actually. How can we document this? And most important, who is responsible for this? So we know that there are, like she said, a big fear, like so many people are disappearing, so it's not a natural phenomenon. There are causes and consequences of this. So who are the key role players behind this, and can we have them responsible in front of the justice or whatever? So, and even most important maybe, how can we protect those rights of the people on the move? How can ensure their liberty? So we are very excited to have a variety of testimonies from different perspectives, so activists from the ground and people from the international organizations as well. And we have here activists that work, as I said, on the ground, so Niger, Sudan, and Libya. And yeah, very excited. And just to go through what are we talking about today, the thing is we try to do a panel discussion, and so we will hear for 10 minutes some testimonies from the activists, and then we will, if you have questions, you can whenever ask, maybe at the end as well. And then we will have a break, and in the second round we will have other testimonies from the people from the organization and from the institutional level. And then the final part will be like a panel discussion, but your participation. So we open the stage, and yes, you are very welcome to ask whatever you want.
Yes, but now we start with the presentations of our activists that we have here. And the first one that I can introduce is Asia Al-Noor. She works for the Africa Center for Peace and Justice and is the manager of a project that focuses on enforced disappearance in Sudan. The project has been documenting more than 1,400 cases of enforced displacement in Sudan since the war broke out there. Asia also has been working with Borderline Europe since over 4 years. And in Sudan, she was in contact with the families of disappeared and organized things like social media campaigns and protests. And she will tell us more about her work now. Asia, it's your stage.
Hello. Okay. Thank you so much, and thank you for Borderline for organizing this. I think this is very important for us, just to hear like different experience and how people like dealing with this issue, because for us it's very important and it's very crucial issue in Sudan. And actually, I'm not going to talk a lot. Maybe my presentation is going to be about introduction. When the first civilian started in Sudan. Then I will also go through the key statistics that we have, like done by different groups in Sudan. Then also I'm going to talk about our project with Borderline as African Center, like our insights for the issue of enforced disappearance, then the challenges and lessons learned that we had during our work. Then also I have one testimonies from the family of the victims, so I'm going also to present it. This is more of our effort to document the enforced disappearance cases in Sudan. So, as she mentioned earlier, that the enforced disappearance is the tools used by the authority or the government to oppress the people who's against them. And also, Sudan has been witnessing many cases of the enforced disappearance during al-Bashir regime since 1998 until 2018. And this is especially in the conflict area in Darfur and Danazin and Blue Nile, which was conflict between the army and some militias at that time. So a lot of activists during the time have been disappeared. There is no documentation for them until now, and no one knows how many people have been disappeared during the time. And after that, we came with the revolution. The revolution actually started in 2018, then continued until 2019. In 2019, we had very, very big sitting in front of the General Command of the military. Then, after that, in the 7th of June, this sitting has broke down by the government. So during this time, like a lot of people have been disappeared. That time, there is a small initiative to start to document the cases, and they have been documented more than 22 cases. And after months, we found some people killed, disappeared. We have been searching for them. And after that, we found them killed and thrown inside the River Nile. So it was very, very shocked for us. That's why the issue escalated again and came again to be like for everyone. Now this is happened not in conflict area, but in the peaceful revolution. Then we start working this issue, but in the April 15, when the war started again between RSF and SAF, the militia of Janjaweed and the military, the resulted widespread of a lot of violation, like rape, murder, and including the enforced disappearance. And there is a lot of, since that time, different initiatives documented more than 1,600 of the people have been disappearing during the war. So it's really very big number, huge number, and that's why now we are facing really problem. So here the statistic shows that, this is according to the group for Sudanese of victims of enforced disappearance, and actually this group has been created by our project Borderline and African Center at that time. After 1 year of the war, we have documented 1,140 cases. This is the cases they have been documented from, some families just call us as African Center to ask about how we're going to support them. Some cases we have been just documented from the social media platform. We just find some families posted this has been kidnapped, this has been arrested by RSF or by SAM or whatever. So we have documented these individuals, and also there is a small group called Missing Initiative. This group is established when the sitting broke out in 2019. Also, they have reported in the initiative between May 2023 and until June 2023, 6 migrants among these 1,000 have been disappeared. And these 6 migrants, actually their families come and talk about them. Because there is a lot of migrants have been disappeared during the war and no one knows about them. Because no one comes and talking about migrants have been disappeared. So this is also, then for us as a Sudanese, for decades, the first time to respond for this phenomena, as I said, after the sitting, a small initiative from young people came out and started looking for their friends. They have been disappeared in this time. So and after that came with this called Missing Initiative. Now it's very big initiative in Sudan. They have very big platform in social media and Facebook and whatever, and the people really trust them because at that time they was helping the families of victims. But also as African Center, we start working this phenomena before the revolution itself, but it was very sensitive issue to just bring it and talking about it. That's why when the revolution came, we feel like now we can bring this issue again, we can talk about it again. So we have been organized 2 very big workshops targeting the government, targeting the Ministry of Justice, activists, lawyers, everyone in the justice system in the country, plus the transitional government. So we did 2 workshops. One workshop is directly talking with the families of the victim at that time to enhance their opportunity to access to justice. And the other workshop, it was about how we can build a national strategy to combat the enforced disappearance or to stop the enforced disappearance from Sudan. And actually, our work to put pressure on the government at that time in the transitional period and also bring the issue speaking about documented the cases and have evidence in our hand, we really put pressure, and after that we let the government sign and ratify the convention of the enforced disappearance in 2021. So this was successful for us to have this something in our hand, to be legally that we are really fighting for something. Now we can do, and we can write our report, we can bring the issue more and more and more. So I think this is one of the stuff that we did before the war. And in 2021, unfortunately, the coup came of the military, and every effort has been stopped because now they go to target everyone who's working in the issue of human rights in general, regardless the enforced disappearance, which is very difficult. So, and after that, after the coup, directly, we start to bring the issue again. I start work with Borderline. Then with Borderline together, we're thinking about, okay, let us bring the issue again. Let us talk about it, because it's very important. Because it's going to affect, if we're going to talk about any peace process in the world, in Sudan, that we need to, this is one of the violations that we need to address it. So we start to work on it, and we came with our project. We start to develop the idea of the project in 2022. And alhamdulillah, this is one of the successful what we did until now, because we continue working in our project until this time. And we are going to continue to do it also. next year and until we gain justice for these families. So with Borderline Europe and African Center, we have this project funded by the Ministry of German for Foreign Ministry here on EVA, civic project. And the project actually it was aimed to strengthen the civilian protection mechanism in Sudan by documenting and enforcing disappearance cases. Because if we want to seek for justice or ask for rights, we need to have evidence in our hand. That's why we focus about documentation, how we're going to document this, and also to ensuring their inclusion, to ensure even these cases we have been documented to be included in the international investigation process. Because as well, as I said, now we are part of the convention of the enforced disappearance. So we need also to bring it, and also to raising the ensuring, as I said, raising the awareness about the issue itself. Because during our work, we experienced that some families, they didn't understand this is a crime. And they need to come and do report and speak out about it. And this is like one of the crimes. If we really document it, that means we can fall down a whole regime, because it's really crime. So to raise an awareness of the people, of the families, whatever, also advocacy, capacity building, this is also going to lead us to contribute to the international body about the issue itself. Then also to promote, as I said, the accountability and make these families bring their voice talking about the issue, give them the trust to come and speak. So this is the idea behind our project. And after that, we start to work in the ground. One of the key achievements that we did before the war, it was we succeeded to train 24 monitors about how they can document the enforced disappearance cases. Then also, we came with the initial draft of the law to criminalize, sorry, my English sometimes just, to criminalize the enforced disappearance itself, because now we have this convention, we have to have law. Because in Sudan, there is no special law in our constitution, in our law system, talking about enforced disappearance. It's just talking about missing people without the enforced disappearance. Because enforced disappearance and missing is different perspective. It's not the same definition. So we came with this initial draft of the law. It was very difficult for us, but we successfully organized. And until now, we continue developing the draft, because we think at some point, in one day, there is a government is going to come. We need to have something in our hand just to present it directly. Then also, one of our successful, we established database system. And this is, for us, it was crucial to establish it. Because, in Sudan, until now, the people who's monitoring and documenting the human rights violation, they just use the old method, like the paper method. And when the war came, all the evidence had been destroyed. So the idea of establishing this database, it was very crucial for us, and we succeeded doing that. I will show you like our database and how it's worked and whatever. I will show it to you. And also we succeeded to submit, because as I said, the project starts from 2022, 2023 when the war broke out. Then during this time, also we continue documenting, and we submit like 5 cases to the UN Enforced Disappearance Committee. And they started to take action. They took action for 2 cases. That time, one case was RSF, the militia, and the other cases was the military. Actually, we succeeded to release 1 case. This is, for me, it was very important, and it was really success. And after that, I encouraged the woman, the sister of the victim, to be part of our monitors, to monitor the other violation of enforced disappearance. And now she's very active in the system, in the database system. She just documents the cases like this, and she knows how to deal with the families. This is also the very important thing, because sometimes it's very difficult for the families just to give the information like that, especially in the wartime. So this is one of our achievements, and also we did a lot of advocacy work in participating in international platform, like in African Commission in Banjul. They have this meeting every year. So we go, we're talking about the issue, we bring the issue even in front of the African Commission of Human Rights in Geneva, at the session about enforced disappearance with the Enforced Disappearance Committee. Also we bring the issue, we write our reports. So this is what we have been done, and after the war, we start to focus about doing another thing. We focus about capacity building, continue our documentation, and continue our advocacy. Because for us, the advocacy is very important. We are not in the regional level, but also in international level, just to tell the other that we have something that you need to take care of. So we start the capacity building, and this time we bring the family of victims themselves to come and sit together to speak about their issue. So we bring like 15 family of victims from Sudan, and we did the training for them, and we trained them in the international human rights and enforced disappearance issue and the UN mechanism. So, after the workshop finished, when I hear that one of the men started to cry, and he said that I didn't know there is someone in Sudan in this time taking care of our issue. This is really, it gives us hope, even if we didn't find our beloved, but at least there is someone behind us and fight for our rights. So this is, for me, it was very crucial, and my lesson learned from here, if we need to work in this issue, we need to engage those people who has they feel the pain, because they know how to act, they know how to. And after that, actually, they bring us 500 family. All of them, we need your support, we need your support, we need your support. So this is one of the things that we did it. And actually, we did another workshop, capacity building workshop for our juridical system. So we select 5 from them, like lawyer, and we also trying to train them about build their capacity and skills about how they can address the case of the enforced disappearance, especially, as I said, during that time, for a long time there is no law for the enforced disappearance, and they don't know how they can act as a lawyer or as a judge. I just forget
Judges.
Yes, exactly. So in the documentation, we continue our effort in the documentation, and in our database system, now we have been documented 134 cases. I said in the beginning there is thousands of cases, but in our system we just documented 100. That's why. Because to verify the data and to speak with the family of the victims, to have the whole evidence and accurate data, that is very difficult. That's why from this 1,000, we just have this 134, but I think this is also successful. It's not bad to have this kind of data. And among these data, there is a child, women, and old people, and young. So, and we're going also talking about the challenge, also about the challenge of documenting, and migrant as well. And also we submit again, like 7 cases for the UN, enforced disappearance. And among these 7 cases, we have 2 migrant cases, have been disappeared in the war. One Eritrean, one lady, and the other one is from Ethiopia. Also have been just disappeared by the local government in Kasara. No one knows where are they now. And also, like we have like 2 cases for child. Also, we have been submitted these 2 cases for the African Committee for the Human Rights and Child. So this is what we are doing. And also, we create 7 videos for the family testimony. I think it's more than 7, but this is the 7 accurate one that I have in my hand now. That we documented with the family of the victims directly, to use it for the advocacy, to use it for the international platform, and I will show you one. Then, as I said, we continue working in the advocacy. We have African Center have like social media platform in Twitter, in LinkedIn, in Facebook. So we start to publish videos talking about the phenomenon of enforced disappearance, how this phenomenon is very important for the people to take care of about it, how it's affected the justice system, how it's affected the peace-building process in the country and whatever. So we start to create this kind of videos, and also like taking messaging, different messaging from the family of the victims, and this messaging directly for civil society organization and also for the international communities. So we start out to do our advocacy and social media campaign. And sometimes just doing like small meeting with journalists, human rights journalists, for example, just to come and also to speak about the phenomena, and after that let them to do like release release or whatever reports. And we have a lot to work with Radio de Banga. If you just Google Radio de Banga African Center, you're going to find a lot of articles about this. And also, as I said, we continue doing our advocacy through the international platform, talking about the issue and bring the issue in the bring the issue for the international platforms. But definitely we face a lot of challenge during our work, during our documentation. The first challenge for us now, especially during the war, the communication. Because sometimes the telecommunication and the internet communication have been like just cut off for a month, for 4 months, for example. So this is also make our work is like not very active. This is the first thing. The other thing also the security risk for our monitors, for every human rights defender also, because sometimes they get stressed to be kidnapped, to be themselves to be forced disappearance and whatever. This is the other one. And the other thing that also hesitation of the families to talking about the case or their families or their beloved, because sometimes they fear if they speak about him or her, they're going to torture him more. They're going to murder him. And sometimes they get stressed from RSF or staff. We have a lot of incidents about if you just talking about your beloved that has been arrested by X1, we are going, for example, to arrest you, or we are going, so they also it's very difficult for them. For me, I have been like facing, after I just finished from 4 cases, document all of them, and I want to submit them to the UN. The families called me and told me to stop, don't do it. That's why it's very difficult. And also, the other challenge to document the cases of women. Because the women is not just disappeared, but after their disappearance, like maybe they rape them, sexual harassment. So we have this stigma in society, in Sudanese society, they don't want to talk about even if rape or something like this. So it's very difficult to find information about women disappearing. So this is also one of the challenges, but definitely we learn a lot from the families of victims, or from the way or our approach to continue working in the ground. For example, one of the restaurants, as I said, they're building trust with the families of the victims. This is very important because they're going to be like very relieved to share their story with you. Because sometimes this is very difficult. Until now we face the same issue. Some families, they refuse to give us, especially the migrant. Because the migrant, they already are in unsafe place, they feel like themselves like that. So when they're talking about their issue also, they find it very difficult. Maybe he's not going to support us. He's going just to take the information and just let us go. This is also one of the challenges that I face when I'm working with migrants directly. And also adaptation to communication barriers. As I said, we came with the idea to bring the people in person instead of to speak with them. So this is also our lesson learned, that when you see the person in front of you is different when you're talking with, because you feel their emotions, you feel everything, and also they're feeling with you and they start to give. And the last thing, also raising awareness about the gender-specific challenge. Actually, the project focus on the addressing the unique barriers of women and in facing enforced disappearance, and we start to ensure that in the voices of them, they are being heard, and it's not a taboo to talking about what is going on for you, if it's you rape or whatever, because this is it should be come out, and you should be speaking out also. If not for your rights, for the other people's rights, we need to put this. And actually, this is what we have been learning during our work. It it was very difficult work, and it was very difficult project to have been implemented in wartime. And as I said again, enforced disappearance is not just one violation. It's a very complicated. Yani when someone is enforced, sometimes, as I said, it's going to be like with torture, with murder, with sexual harassment, with a lot of another violation. It's not just like we take this one and put it in unknown place and that is all, but it's like another violation is going to be. That's why for us it's very crucial to bring this issue and to speak about it. And for now in Sudan, the forced disappearance after the war is taking another pattern now. Before the war, they just kidnapped the activists, journalists, the people anti the regime. But now, families have been enforced disappearance. As I said, girls have been enforced disappearance, children have been enforced disappearance. And all of this, for example, for the girls, they abuse them for sexual abuse, for example, or they do like the reproductive role, cleaning, washing for them, and also sometimes they just find them in the slave market. And we have this incident. If you go to African Center website, you're going to see like a report called the Khor Jahannam, which is Jahannam is yes, hell. So the whole of hell. So you can read more about this slave market of the women have been kidnapped and have been enforced disappearance. And also for the children, unfortunately, they use them, children and migrants, they use them to equip them in forest equipment to be part of the fight. And this is now what we have been facing in Sudan. And actually it's very crucial for us, as I said, because if we were talking about peace building, whatever, this is going to be like one of the issues, block the road for the peace building. So that is why it's very important for us. Quickly, I'm going to show you our database system, but I don't know.
So we asked if it's already.
Yeah, I will be quickly. I know that I took more than 10 minutes. Sorry. But you know, when you're talking about something you really touch your feeling, that you feel like you need to give more, you need to.
If it doesn't work now, we could finish.
So our database is not like very modern one, but at least it is something that now we use it in the time of the war. Sometimes it's work. This is the fantastic thing on it. It's work online and offline. It's not need to have internet all the time, and you can just download the application in your phone and just start to use it. Actually, it's not accessible for everyone. Just for the people, they have the data to put the data inside it. For example, now we have air monitors have been but now air monitors they have been trained to use it, and that is the all ones have access to this database. It's very secure. No one can access just with password and as I said, with the username. For example, here we have the report. Sorry, it's in Arabic, but it's going to show you like before that. When we establish it, we're thinking about how we're going to use the interview format. So we call the UN urgent action format. They have like format of the asking about the question about the enforced disappearance one. So we use this format to be based for our database. So you saw our database or our format including, for example, the name of the victims, from where, in each, for example, district, in the district, what house number, whatever, all the details of the address, and and it's a male or female, this is another thing. And also, now I see like our documentation is be like 136. So this is good. So as I said, male or female, and can you see here the frequency of the female is 118, and the frequency of the male is 12, just 12 male. As I said, it's very difficult to document the cases of women in Sudan in this time, but that's why for us is. And here also, like we're talking about their the area they have been, for example, disappeared in Khartoum, which state? Khartoum, Blue Nile, North Sudan, whatever. Also we need, because here is also going to give us the categories where people disappear more. In which area people more disappears? In conflict area just, or also in non-conflict area. So this is also is helpful for us. And here also we have like the information about their families, their names, their fathers, their mothers, whatever, because for us also is very important. In Sudan, that you have like, you find that the same name in different families. So this is for us also is very important to have all this information. And here, also like we do, what kind of violation happened for them. Is a physical violation, is a psychological violation, or is another violation also? We start to ask the families about what has happened. If there is any witness show the victim before kidnap him or her, and what's happened exactly. And also after that document if it's kidnapping or if it is disappearance. Also like arrest, just come to their house and arrest it, because also we need to know the pattern of the violation happened. It's kidnapping, it's enforced disappearance, it's what as well. So this is for us very important. And also here we see from for example, we start, as I said, we started database working in 2023. Okay, from 2023 until 2024, how many cases we have been documented under our database, also to see the difference, and what time is going for this issue is escalated and what time is not escalated. This is also what we did. And here we have also to know if the families knows where is their beloved one. For example, some families, they know where they detain them. Some families, they didn't know. This is also is going to give you like the places of RSF put the people in, or the places of self-control and arrested the people and put them in. So this is also for us is very important to ask about it. And also, as I said, the gender, whatever. So for us, as I said, is it's not very strong database system, but at least it's something that we can use it in this time, just to keep the data, to keep our evidence, because we know that there is a time is going to come, and we're going to use it for justice for the families and to criminalize the enforced disappearance itself. So I'm not going to go through it all, but I just want to show it to you. This is one of our tools that we are now using it in Sudan, or with African Center and Borderline for now, and not a lot of people allowed to access to it, not a lot of people train on it. And at the end, I have only just the video, one testimony. I can just show it for you, and I will be done.
I think it's in this slide. Sorry, this is what
Yeah, I think it's in the slides.
In case it doesn't work, maybe we can just show it later after the.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. otherwise, we just continue with the next presentation and we do the video later.
Yes. I don't think it's working, but yeah. So thank you for your testimony. It was really, it gave not a nice view of what's happening now, but it still gives hope. So thank you really much. Now, welcome to Mokhtar Dangayev. So he's a communication officer of the initiative for Alarme Phone Sahara. So he has worked there for the last, can you hear me? Yeah, okay. No? Okay, it's working. Okay, so Mokhtar Dangayev is working for Alarme Phone Sahara for the last 8 years as communication officer. And yeah, he could tell us more details about what's happening in the desert right now, the situation of the migration routes, and yeah, please, thank you.
Okay, thank you also. I think it's now very difficult to talk more about what's going on because my sister, I think she made a broad presentation. Thank you for that. Thank you for filling the gap. And I would also before would like to thank Borderline for organizing this and put us in this beautiful place to talk about those unfortunate things that are happening sometimes unknown. Yeah, as you said, I'm Mokhtar Dangayev. One of the founding members of this initiative, Alarme Phone Sahara. Alarme Phone Sahara, which is an organization working in Niger, trying to promote the freedom of movement. But by doing so, we discovered that there are many things, many other things that are happening under the externalization or the outsourcing of EU policies. Because Alarme Phone Sahara, the thought started after 2015, where the so-called migration crisis was spread, and then the country of Niger was chosen strategically by the EU to stop migrants crossing the Sahara, meaning that the border of Europe now over past the Mediterranean Sea, but going through the Saharan desert, especially in Niger and in the middle, which is Agadez. So Alarme Phone Sahara, the initiative was influenced, or I can say inspired by Alarme Phone, the broad network who organized rescue missions on the Mediterranean. So we wanted first to try to rescue people whenever they are in distress in the Saharan desert. So we begin with 3 main objectives, which are sensitizing, documenting, and the rescue. Sensitizing, raising awareness about the migration itself, bring another perspective than what is spread, because at this time, migration was not a political priority, and for the people, it's a normal phenomenon. People don't talk even about migration. You know, for them, it's like normal, so there is nothing to do with it or nothing to talk about. It is just natural. People can move freely from all the sides. There is a lot of mobility in the region, circular migration, seasonal migration also. And we realized that all the discourse and everything thought about migration since 2015 is about the danger of migration, trying only this European perspective of migration, and all the organizations that are work on human rights, they try to raise awareness on the danger and the problems of migration. And we said normally this should not be the case, because the region, or Niger, is known to be a kind of carrefour that link the North African to the South African. And we try to bring awareness on the importance of migration, on the importance of mobility for the region. And raise awareness also on the importance to promote the freedom of movement, as I said, because not our main view is not to encourage people to take those risky routes, but also not to discourage them, because we know that everyone has his reason or his different reason to cross the Sahara as it is. And then the second objective is to document, because we realize that we're raising awareness, but it's important to document on what we are trying to denounce, which is the violation of the right of movement in this region. So we try to document the consequences of those outsourcing of EU externalizing of EU policies. So documenting on the economic, documenting on the human rights violation, and also documenting on the lives of people. This is where the surprise comes, because we find that apart from the difficulties for people to move, there is a lot of people dying and disappearing in the desert without knowledge. Because since 2015 in Niger, or let's say after 2015 in Niger, there was this criminalizing of the mobility toward the north. So then the normal routes that people used to take to go either Algeria or Libya, people started to change the routes, trying to escape to the checkpoints. And then many people are dying. Our, let's say, comrades, the whistleblower of Alarme Phone Sahara, starts to find a lot of graves or sometimes dead bodies in the desert. And then we ask ourselves, is the states or the international community are not accountable for this? Because normally, or before the states start taking migration or the mobility as a priority, people used to cross the Saharan desert without dying in the desert. But since now it became a political issue, we realize that many people are dying and finally disappear in the desert. So we find it interesting to ask of this, or to ask for this accountability of the states, because the forced migration or forced disappearance as a law on international level. What about this act that the states doing, either the EU by outsourcing its borders through African countries, or the country itself by implementing law that criminalize the mobility? So you can see normally in Niger, people used to cross from the country toward the north, but since 2015, I think the roads changed. Yeah. Since 2015, the roads changed, because you can see this map that Border Forensic worked on it to show a bit how the mobility changed and how it led to forced disappearance. The red, the yellow line is normally the official routes that people used to follow to travel either to Libya or Algeria. But since 2015, when the law was implemented, so you have those yellow points, which means that they put checkpoints of militaries where they try to arrest everyone that are going toward the north. So people try to cross, to dodge those checkpoints by taking the purple line, which made in the desert, so they try to find their own ways, and it increased the disappearance and the death of people. So we ask ourselves if the forced disappearance law on the countries is their responsibility, or is a fact that directly or indirectly states took action that led for people to die. Those policies and those legal frame put or set by our country and let's say European outsourcing policy are not responsible or are not, sorry for the English also, I'm in the same case with my sister, yeah, when it's a bit nervous or sometimes the wordiness, yeah. So if the countries are not responsible or this disappearance of migrants, if it's not put under the law or under the legal frame of forced disappearance, because these are concrete or concrete example that it's the act of the state that push those people to disappear. But we find also sometimes that, okay, in the international level, numbers are more important than names. This which is so sad, because as for Alarme Phone Sahara, we wanted to document, but it is very, very difficult to document, because to compare how dead or dead migrants that dead to compare for the Sahara and the Mediterranean is completely different. The sea used to throw out the bodies, so maybe sometimes they can see it, whereas in the Sahara, if you put down some things, maybe 1 hour or 2 days later, the sun will just cover them. We know that it is very difficult to document. We let some other organizations try to do it, like IOM with his project of missing migrants, start giving some numbers, but we think that it may be important to help, it may be important or help to take, or to, how can I say, to raise the issue, but it does not show the reality, because it's impossible to have the number, and it may be completely different. Sometimes they talk about 1,400 between 2015 and 2013, which is completely for us not realizable, not true, because it's maybe more than that. So as Alarme Phone Sahara, to push more on this action, we, with some other organization in the region, try to document at least the human rights violation physically on the people to take a legal action, because we wanted to raise the case and to empower, the migrants themselves to talk about what is going on the road, because as she said, sometimes it isn't difficult, because the migration itself is criminalized, so migrants themselves, they don't want to talk, but we want them to understand that there are people back them trying to raise their voice. So 2022, we document at least 140 cases which show the direct human rights violation by the states or the state agents. And with that, we put an action at the ECOWAS court, where Niger is part from. ECOWAS, the regional organization, which has its free protocol of movement since 1979. So we issued the country of Niger to this ECOWAS court for them to say something about it, or maybe to put it forward. By luck, this law, since recently, is repaired by the new authorities, like the military that sees the power since July 2023. Of course, this we can take it as a word for us, because before Alarme Phone Sahara, people don't talk about what is going on under the Sahara. Of course, the international organism like OIM existed since 2006, but the international opinion don't have information that there are many things or many other things that are happening in the desert before we started raising this issue. And we find it also important, because from 2018 we start seeing the interest of researchers, and the interest of journalists on the cases or I can say what is going on the Saharan region. So, to continue again, Alarme Phone Sahara is part of a different network, as she already mentioned, this case of empowering the family. We, with other organizations, are involved in commemoration, which means to commemorate the death and disappear on the road of migration. And we make it every 6th February every 6th February. Why 6th February? Because we had the case of what happened between Ceuta and Melilla at Ceuta, where the Spanish Guardia shoots directly on migrants trying to swim in the Mediterranean, and which lead to death of many migrants. So at least for us, this is also a case that state agent concretely shot on people trying to flee or trying to swim, and it led to death. So with this commemoration, because there exist already some families in Tunisia that are trying to find their family members, their children, trying to find them. So with this commemoration, we try to empower those families to politicize their actions, and also to claim the research and the rescue, because it's important. The research and rescue, and also identification, which normally is supposed to be the case. But unfortunately, in the case of Niger, either from going toward the north or coming from the north, people are dying and no one says nothing, and there is not any initiative to try to identify. So meaning that people are disappearing, the responsibility of the states are not clear, or they don't do what they supposed to. And to ask also for justice and separation. With this action of commemoration, we started, I think, 2019 or 2020 with some few cities, trying to bring together different families to raise their issue or to ask for reparation. It's at the beginning only like 12 or I think less than cities that commemorate the commemoration. By 2 or 3 years, we went to at least 125 cities where the commemoration is happening every year, because we try to decentralize it, not to make it one city, but trying to bring together everywhere where families exist that lost their beloved, try to commemorate that day by action to ask reparation or to ask for justice or identification, at least to know what's going on for their beloved one. Yeah. Briefly, this is what we do at Alarme Phone Sahara and our action center.
Thank you so much. And we will soon have also a chance to ask more questions, but now I would like to give the microphone to Halima Mohamed, who is a human rights activist at Libya Crimes Watch. Her initiative documents violence against migrants and other civilians in Libya. It operates through a network that covers all parts of Libya, and Halima has formerly worked with different international organizations, so she's also familiar with that level. But yeah, now we're excited to hear more about her work.
Thank you so much. Thank you for introducing me, and thank you to Borderline for hosting this panel. Also, thank you for my fellow activists, the panelists on the stage. Great work, of course. I will be brief, because I presume there will be time for questioning, because I will be presenting our work as an organization. Leaving the floor for everyone to ask later on. Let's start. So, Libyan Crime Watch is a non-profit organization dedicated to monitoring and potential migrants. LCW works tirelessly to support victims and survivors and advocate for accountability, for reduced impunity and achieve justice. The missing migrants crisis in the Mediterranean is stark reality. Families of the missing face immediate immense challenge in their search for their loved ones. As authorities often lack the resources and cooperation to investigate this disappearance effectively, of course. This issue is for Libya is not just only for migrants, it's also for Libyan as well. So we have our own missings, and for migrants as well, it's like a crippling situation when it comes to search and rescue and identifying and every aspect of missing. At this point, the reluctance of the authorities and the coast guards is only worsening the situation. Even though they too try to help, but it's not like it's not really that much of a help due to the lack of resources and knowledge to how to deal with these issues. Migrants in Libya face several human rights abuses, some of which amount to crime against humanity. These violations include torture, extrajudicial killing, forced labor, and of course enforced disappearance. And prolonging arbitrary detentions by security forces, whether it's in the southern region, eastern region, or in the west region. Libya has been a key transit point for migration due to its geological location and the strategic location and the instability that has plagued the country since 2011. Uprising the absence of a strong central government, the presence of various armed factions have created a power vacuum, allowing smugglers and traffickers to operate with impunity. These individuals exploit the disparate situation of migrants, often subjecting them to horrific abuses, including extortion, abuse, kidnapping, and even sexual violence. Migrants in Libya face horrific conditions. It's not something new for the international community and the local community. But we can say, particularly in detention centers, they are subjected to torture, abuse, and forced labor, as I mentioned. The situation is dire, with thousands disappearing along migration routes. As you mentioned, these routes are like all in the Sahara, so it's really hard to replicate how much exact number is. So I don't have the exact statistic for like how many disappearances in the country, unfortunately. Not many resources has been allocated toward this crisis. The Libyan authority often fail to protect migrants, and international organizations struggle to provide adequate support. This crisis demands urgent attention to prevent further suffering and loss of life. The Sudanese migrant crisis has aggravated the already dire situation of migrants in Libya. Thousands of Sudanese have fled their country due to conflict, seeking refuge in Libya. Since the onset of the Sudanese conflict in April 2023, are thousands of individuals and families have fled to Libya, estimating around 100,000 individuals according to the UNHCR. So that's what was only registered. Some are not able to register with the UNHCR. So the exact number is not really accurate. Due to many struggles and reasons, migrants, refugees especially, are not able to register with UNHCR in Libya due to many factors. By the end of October, it was estimated to be 100,000 refugees from Sudan only. According to most migrants enter Libya through the southern east city of Kufra, controlled by the Libyan Arab armed forces, the LAAF. However, Kufra faces a worsening humanitarian situation with international organizations struggling to meet migrants' basic needs, offering limited access essentials to such as blankets and emergency medical help. Between September and October, LCW recorded 2 cases of migrants, children aged between 2 and 3. The 2 cases unfortunately deceased due to dire situation of living in Sabha. Even though there are some international organizations currently working in Sabha city in Libya, they were not able to provide any assistance to them. It's very difficult for international organizations to even perform. There are only 2 organizations currently working in South Libya. IOM is one of them, and other one is Intersource. And even to reaching out after documenting the cases before their passing, we reached multiple times through multiple channels, and there was no response from them. Of course, they have limited, restricted movability in the south, so they were not able to provide help, which is very sad. These challenges highlight the urgent need for increased international attention and support to address the plight of Sudanese migrants in Libya. LCW collects testimonies from survivors and families of missing migrants in Libya, particularly those from Sudan. These testimonies detail the harsh condition faced by migrants, including arbitrary detention, torture, enforced disappearance, and death, in desert and in the sea. LCW uses these testimonies to advocate for the accountability and to support victims and survivors through various mechanisms such as the UN Special Procedures, treaty bodies, Universal Predictor Review, which is the UPR, UN Human Rights Council, and the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, and the International Criminal Court. LCW engages with international mechanisms like the UN Human Rights and Council and the African Commission on Human Rights to raise awareness about migrants and push for accountability. They also provided support, we also provided support to victims and survivors, facilitating access to legal and medical and psychological aid. LCW efforts contributes to shedding light on the dire situation of migrants in Libya and urging international action to address these pressing human rights issues. We submitted an urgent appeal of 1 case to 3 special rapporteurs on migrants, workers, enforced disappearance, and special rapporteurs on migrants at the African Commission on Human and People's Rights. These complaints detail the case of an individual who has been subjected to enforced disappearance for 4 years without any legal procedures, leading his family to believe and to presume he is deceased, even though he was only illegally detained. No one knew exactly where he was, and the mechanism, although they are slow to respond, but I believe we just got a response from them like a few weeks ago. To address the critical situation of migrants in Libya, LCW recommend the following. It's only recommendation. Of course, these are part of the work we do. I did not include the recommendation in the presentation. And of course, we recommend to increase humanitarian aid. We urge international organizations to significantly increase humanitarian aid to meet the basic needs of migrants, particularly Sudanese refugees in terms of food, shelter, and medical care. Enhancing protection for migrants. We call upon Libyan authorities to ensure the protection of migrants from human rights abuses. Improvement in search and rescue operation. We advocate for effective search and rescue operation in the Mediterranean and the desert region to prevent loss of life and disappearance. Strengthening international cooperation. We encourage international cooperation to address the root causes of migration and to provide safe and legal pathway for migrants. Support for accountability mechanism. We support efforts to establish accountability mechanism to investigate and prosecute those responsible for human rights abuses against migrants. To support civil society, we also have recommendation on how to support civil society organization working to protect the rights of migrants, refugees. LCW recommends encouraging support for civil society organization by supporting organizations that works in the field, such as my colleagues and ourselves, and many others that did not have the chance to be here today. So we encourage international communities and everyone involved in this matter to provide as much support, because at the end it's a case for us. It's involved people from the Sudanese environment, Sudanese country, and people who are affected by what's going on currently. We also we encourage to provide resources and funding by allocating resources to civil society organizations to enable them to continue their essential work, facilitate access to information and data by sharing relevant data and information to civil society organizations, and to strengthen their advocacy effort, collaborate with international organizations by working with international organizations to amplify the voices of civil society organizations and promote the accountability, advocate for legal and policy reforms by supporting the efforts of implement legal and policy reform that protect the rights of migrants and refugees. In closing, it is crucial to emphasize that addressing the challenges of missing migrants and enforced disappearance, as well as the systematic issues facing migrants in Libya, requires united and resulted efforts from all stakeholders. At LCW, we remain committed to documenting human rights violations, amplifying the voices of victims, and advocating for accountability and justice. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much, Alima. We now have about half an hour for a discussion before we take the break. Maybe I would start with one question to all of you. Maybe Asad, if you want, you could start, because you all described how difficult it is to identify people who go missing. Maybe could you describe a little bit in detail in the concrete steps that you take when you think that somebody's gone missing, when a family reaches you? What are the concrete steps in your daily work that you take then?
For me, as yet, because I'm not directly in contact with the families of the victims, and we have our team in the ground who's working on this. But one of the steps that we take, we first take the permission from the family that we need to document this case, for example. And after we document, for example, if it's the case of women, we also usually send women to speak with the family. If it's a case is a man, it's okay, they can give the information. So this is, as I said, also the sensitivity of the gender, we take it in our consideration. Plus, if you want, for example, we ask the family directly, what kind of needs that you want. If there is one, for example, psychological support, actually I didn't mention that we have this service in our web. We provide for them, for example, psychological support for the family. Also, if they have if they need legal support, also we have our network of the lawyers. They can open cases, and also we provide them this legal support. And when we want, if, for example, I can see this case is very important to be documented and send it to UN bodies or the African Commission or whatever. But sometimes I have also to take the permission from the families. I want to submit this case. Are you agree about doing this? If they said yes, I will do it. If not, I will never do it. So this is, we need to deal with them a lot, talk with them first. And sometimes, when we document the case, they ask us to delete it. We do it as well. Because at the end of the day, we don't have the rights to control everything. And we need to hear from the family of the victims. As we have been shared, all of us here, the confidence and trust the family of the victims on you is very important for you to go and to continue working. So thank you.
Yeah, Magda, how about you? Where do you try to find people who have gone missing?
Exactly, I like this part because actually this is my questions, because the difference of realities, because we as Alarme Phone Sahara are part of the searching. Because usually people contact us when they don't see their people, and sometimes by phones, on the social media, and we are not in face-to-face contact. Sometimes the person that is asking even don't want to give his identity because of fearing to be criminalized, because the mobility itself is criminalized. So when people call us, if we have information, because sometimes they call us, okay, one of our family leave this part, is supposed to be to this part, but now it may almost 5 or 7 days we don't hear from him. So what can you do? Okay, exactly, it's partly the same path first, because the confidence of the family or the person is important. We ask first if you agree that we share with our networks, because our main tools is the social media. We don't have enough resources, we don't have the possibility to organize a rescue mission or try to get to different people. So we first share in our network, which is really, really big, because the situation forced us to build our networks. In my presentation, I forgot one part that is very important to highlight about it when I talk about responsibilities of states that we ask, is the chain of pushbacks. Because I talked about when people are trying to cross Niger toward the north, but now it also exists the case that people are pushed back from the north toward the south. Since 2014, it started some pushback between Algeria and Niger, where officially it was a verbal agreement between Algeria and Niger to bring back the Nigerian citizens in Niger. But from 2016, it changed. Algeria started push back other nationalities in the deserts, like in a no man's land at 15 kilometers between the place and the first village. We call it point zero. We document on it a lot on our social medias. So on this road also, people died sometimes, and people sometimes missed, because the way that those pushbacks are organized, like the state just grab people from different villages, they put them in trucks, and they drop them in the middle of desert, ask them to work. So they don't have contact between them. Sometimes if one just missed, he died, there's even no information about his disappearance. So this is why we are asking for the accountability of the states. But concretely, again, with lack of resources, sometimes like our whistleblowers can find dead body in the deserts, a dead body. They don't have like capacity to take this body to bring it to like maybe a village or a city, because it needs some material or some resources to take dead bodies. They just try to do the first human or humanist act, which is to bury the body to give him dignity. And we train them at least for a small part of like identification that they can do. By chance, if there are some things on the body that they found, like ID, which is not accurate, like ID, or if it's kind of signs or whatever, something that they can take from the dead body. Or if the body is not too decomposed, you understand? So they took a picture, at least to get it. And it happened, but not often, that with the things that we find on the dead body, it lead to get to the family. Like an example, in 2023, we got lucky that one dead body was found by our whistleblowers. Fortunately, there was a small telephone with him. No ID, but there is a telephone on him, and the telephone is off. But they took the telephone, they buried the body, because they can't transport it. They don't have resources for that. Imagine in the desert where even the officials, like militaries or police, if they find body, they would just bury him, because they don't have those bags and either material to transport the body. And if they got the chance to find something on it, they will take it. So with this phone, they bring it at the coordination, we send it to the gendarmerie, they charge it, the last number, it leads to get to the sister. And unfortunately, the sister or the family was looking for the person, but they didn't get to us, unfortunately, because they were not even thinking that the person is in Niger. They were thinking he is in Maghrebian country, you know. But we find to link the families with the body.
Right. And just a short question, when you say whistleblower, you mean activists in the network working for you, basically?
Yeah, exactly. As I said, Alarme Phone Sahara, we inspired the Alarme Phone to set a phone number where people can call whenever they are in distress in the deserts. But the reality, again, is totally different, because in the desert there is not much network covering, you know. So sometimes people can't call even if they are in a distress, even if they are in a critical situation. And then we back up this with a group of volunteers, like on the different villages, on the route, or the main routes in the desert, like toward Algeria or toward Libya. We find volunteer people that help us to do the job, like in their daily mobility, or sometimes if we have like support from organizations that support us, we organize some patrol mission with them, because they know more the region, to try to find if people are in distress. And sometimes, instead of people alive, sometimes we find, or they find, graves. So if you find grave, it's also more complicated, because you will not detail the grave. You just, know or point that, this place, there are some graves, and that's all.
Right. Halima, you also described how difficult it is to identify cases in Libya. How are your concrete steps in your daily work?
Yes. So part of our work as an organization is the documentation. So although it's hard, but sometimes family find us and we do document the families and their missing loved ones. But I think with the situation in Libya, that's it. So there is no linking between what's like the documentation of the missing person through organization and trying to find the remains or the person in person. The authority usually carry on with that. Also international organizations are involved, such as ICRC, but they are very limited. International organizations such as ICRC or MSF usually work on the sea, Mediterranean, retrieving bodies. Their work is in somehow professional work, but with as my fellow panelists like shared, when people do find these remains, it's usually the first thing that comes to their mind is to give them a proper burial without documenting their belongings, and if the remains are decomposed to the point of unrecognition, it's very difficult. But if the remains are preserved somehow, they don't even take a picture for filing. So there are no proper filing of the remains, so there is no link. So the organization, whether it's international, whether it's local NGOs, they do documentation. People find a way to contact us, but how are we going to link? That's one of the difficulties we have. Also, authorities. The authorities who have the legal status to follow up with the remains do not have full legal access to, for instance, open mass graves. It has to be through a very detailed, long legal process through the General Attorney, Libya. And of course, there is also the issue of Libya having multiple governments, too, specifically. So, for instance, if the family currently living in the western region, and the missing is presumed to be whether deceased or detained in the eastern region. So you could never know just by being in the western region. You would have to personally travel, personally look without proper channels, without knowing exactly where to go to. So there is no awareness, whether for the families or for sometimes even international or local NGOs. So there is difficulty linking the documentation part and whether the remain or the fact that he is or she is detained in a detention center, because also detention centers do not have a proper log of every and each detainee. They tend to be sometimes even illegal, and you cannot really follow up who's detained where.
Thank you. Let's see if there are questions in the audience. If you have questions, raise your hand, and Andrea will use the microphone. There's one here. Yes.
First row, first
Hi, thank you guys so much for presenting this information. My name is Zoe. I'm with IOM's Missing Migrants Project, and I have a question about identifying remains, or the process of discovering remains, and specifically if there's any processes about recording the coordinates of remains, especially when they're buried. I think that's something that we run into a lot, is like there are reports of people dying, but it's hard to add that to a database if there's no information about where or when or anything. So yeah, curious about if location is ever a variable that is recorded, especially if we get multi.
That's the problem. I want to get some of the question. If there is, please can you the question?
Sorry.
Some of
yes,
it.
Sorry.
If I understood correctly, if there are coordinates, if you try somehow to document the coordinates, right?
Yeah, like is the location recorded? Is there a methodology for encouraging people who encounter remains to record the location of the remains or the burial?
Yeah, definitely we do trained sometimes with our whistleblower, the network of the whistleblower, how to use GPS localization. So for us, it's important whenever you find grave or dead body, at least to how can I say, to geolocalize the place. We did it few times because always, as I said, the resources. My fellow comrade made a great recommendation to enforce the local initiative or grassroots organization that are doing the work so that they can be enough equipped to do some things like such things. So unfortunately, the lack of resource is a problem, but at least we try to train them how to geolocalize. I would let you know, like in our network or in our group Alarme Phone Sahara, we have the capability to meet together once a year to make a general assembly, because bringing all those people together, it's difficult. And the problem is, maybe you may know, or I already thought about it, the lack of network in the whole country, so that the direct contact with we and our whistleblowers is even challenging, because even them to have network or to call us is very difficult. And we met together in Assembly General once a year. So once a year, and also the level of instruction of those people also is, it's sometimes not, it's limited. We train sometimes people, whistleblower to how to use the geolocalization. They go, but later they lose their phone or something. The realities. I think most of us, we know what's the realities over there. But at least we have some located, like graves or where dead bodies find in our database. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Anyone wants to add or?
So, from our work, our documentation mainly happens with the families. So the family don't know exactly, they will give you what they were last seen wearing, what they looked like, they will provide you with a picture, they will provide you with their last known location, when they lost connection with the missing person. And of course, when it comes to the other side, which is the side that's responsible for collecting the remains, proper documentation is not really done on the ground. It depends. Of course, it's really difficult for whether it's migrants or Libyan. So it's some graveyards are open and documented and logged properly, and some are just left. And even if it's open, they will just bury them, give them numbers, and store the file somewhere without proper data, centralized data. It's an issue that the authorities had brought to international organizations, and they stated that they needed help with such a centralized database. Of course, when it comes to detention centers, it's a very different, completely different story. detention centers are not even sometimes controlled by the government in each side. So it's controlled by forces, armed forces. So that's, I guess, what I can say about the situation. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Actually, in Sudan, we don't have like this experience with migrant directly, but we have the story about the same grief after the sitting. They found by the GDS like this grief, and after that the authority decided just to take the bodies outside and bury them without doing any investigation. So in Sudan, like the people start to do like a small initiative, don't bury them without taking, for example, the DNA from them. But after that, we realized that in the country we have this lack of resource to do even this work. And after that, all the international organization and national organization in Sudan, working together as a civil society organization and trying to call the Argentinian team from outside just to come and do like this work. And actually, when we start doing that and put pressure on the government starts to attack us. So yeah, I think the lack of resources is one of the things that we need to focus in, especially inside these countries, because there is a lot of these groups in different areas. Sometimes we don't know them, sometimes we know, but also they have been controlled by the authorities. That's why in African Center now we have been thinking about how we can also bring this kind of issue and talking about it. How we can also train lawyers and even the doctors and even the people who's dealing with geological or something like this to search about this thing or how they can also working together. So I think there is the lack of resources and the limit knowledge about this kind of crime inside our countries. This is why we have this gap, and it's very difficult for us to identify, to speak out about it, or something like this. Yeah.
Are there more questions?
Yes, I'm Sophie. I'm working with Amnesty on asylum here in Germany, and thank you very much for your expertise and input and work. I wanted to ask you whether you could maybe, and you started doing it already, sort of specify what your demands to the German government or on German level would also be demands that we could amplify. And then I was wondering, because Ajab, you talked about the convention, the UN Convention Against Enforced Disappearance, and its adoption in 2006 and entering into force in 2010. And I was wondering, that's very late. First of all, why do you think it was then in 2006 finally adopted? And why did it enter into force so late? And you said that you're working on transposing it into national law, right? So what would have to be in the national law? And I would be interested in what does have to be in the national law? Like, what do you think needs to be written? And last but not least, I was wondering what your experiences with UN committees and international organizations are. Like, how do you perceive the cooperation? How could it be improved? What is their role? What do you see critical? What do you see as helpful? Yes.
Okay, 3 big questions.
Well, no, sorry, I have to intervene. We have an edit question here,
Yes.
which is in the
That's
context
what
of
I
it.
wanted to say. Thank you for asking my question, because this is also my question to the expert.
But I'm also wondering whether this is only for the second round, but I give it.
Thank you. I'm Silke, and I'm supposed to speak in the second round. And I would have to say a few words on the German government and on the EU, so maybe we can postpone that to the second round. But I have a question directly related to you, Mokhtar. When you both are working under basically in war conditions, it's very particular. Niger, the work you do, you haven't spoken about any reprisal from your government, any pressure you are under. How is the situation working? I mean, Asya just said, if you speak about the graves, then you get reprisal from the government, the RSF, all those forces around. How's that for your work? Can you do it as freely as you want? What are the precautions you have to take?
let's start with that question and then go on with the question regarding the convention.
Definitely it was difficult because, as I mentioned, from 2015, that's the time where a legal framework was set in Niger by the former government. On
the law.
The law 2015-036. So started implementing in 2016. Yes, of course we were threatened, but not directly on the job, because on our work. It was very difficult for us because the law itself was so vague. It was so vague, this law against illicit trafficking. So we ourselves, we never know by which boundary will be considered as helping migrants, as helping illicit migration. So we were threatened, like always, like a kind of Damocles on our head from all the period. That's why we were combating this law up to put this legal action to ECOWAS. And today I said that this law is repealed by the military. But in the implementation of this law, we can say that we were criminalized, because in those whistleblowers that I talked about, I forgot also to mention that sometimes migrants themselves are part of our whistleblowers, because to get in touch with the migrant community, sometimes we empowered some migrants that are already located or based in some villages to be our whistleblowers. And some of our whistleblowers, like migrants, was or were arrested and in jail for, okay, let's say, simple reasons or some fake maybe allegation. So we think it might be discriminalization against the defense that you are doing for the right of mobility. So we dealt with it really with threats the whole time, the whole period of the implementation of this law until 26th of November that it is repealed. I personally, the 1st April of 2021, I was aggressed by men in, like let's say, by men in uniform, you know, with cargo. I lost 3 of my teeth. And actually, I don't know up to now the real reason why I was aggressed. Understand? So it might be because of this activism against a regime or against a law that a regime is implementing. Because really, from 2019 to 2020-23, we did a lot of advocacy. Here in Germany, almost every year, we came and have this info tour where we visited at least 20 or 20 more than cities organized by our networks, our comrades, every cities to meet people, because we think that it's very important, apart from what medias and researchers say, to meet the direct people, to talk with them, to give them at least another perspective of migration, or our perspective, we that are living the situation. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I said there was this question about the convention in Sudan. Do you want to answer that?
Wallahi, and I don't know how to answer that exactly, but I will going to give you my perspective. Because you know, in Sudan, like, we have been under the dictatorship for 30 years almost. And even to talking about international law or international human rights, it was very difficult, because all of this, they think like you are against the government or you are against whatever. Even in Sudan, we didn't, like, as a country, we didn't ratify and sign in a lot of conventions. Like, it's just, I don't know how many exactly, but less than 10 conventions. And to put the pressure on government to sign this, it needs a lot of work. it's need first to convince or to work with the community to make them understand this is important for your rights. Then after that, it should come from the community itself to the government, and after that the government can ratify. As I said, we ratify and signed for the Convention of Enforced Disappearance in 2021, and since it's from 2006, but we signed it and ratified in 2021, we took very long path to do that, because as I said, it's very difficult even for the community and for Sudanese to understand the importance of issue. And they understand the importance of issue after the victims, the numbers have been increased. So I think that's why sometimes, this is from my perspective, we take long way or long path to have this, plus also the political interest of the country itself. This is also another issue. And sometimes, like our country, sometimes they need to go with some political issue just to put their pictures. So I think this is also another reason that why the convention we didn't, for example, sign it yet. For the European one, I'm just waiting for the government as well, just to from them.
Thank you. My suggestion would be to postpone the question about international organizations and the German government to the next round, if it's okay. So maybe we can have one last short question, if anyone has one. Yes, and then we can go to the break.
Hello, does it work? Yeah. I'm Tasneem, I'm with Save the Children Germany. And I wanted, first of all, thank you so much for your input. It was super interesting. And I have one question about minors and unaccompanied minors, especially how exactly do you deal when it comes to like maybe minors who are trying to cross the desert alone, or like what are the, for instance, social strategies that you implement, and how do you manage to, for instance, find your families again? And yeah, that's
Halima, do you want to start?
So part of our documentation, we've documented several minors, young adults, who had lost their parents through crossing the desert. So our support mainly was, for instance, after documenting, once they reach out to us, is to make sure we provide them with the proper services, whether it's psychosocial support, whether it's psychological aid, medical, whether it's, of course, reaching out to international organizations, especially if they are refugees, to get registered. So that's where their help is very, very appreciated. So once UNHCR gets hold of registering them and have them documented, so it's kind of considered for us as a small organization a success handling of the case. It would only be a continuous of following up whether the case is dealt with properly or not. But I guess with the fact that we are a local NGO, that's the length of our support we provide for minors and young adults. But yeah, we do document them, we do register their information. We do try to find adults who can sign on their consent since they cannot, but we usually tend to refer them to proper channels to handle their cases.
Thank you. Okay, I will suggest, thank you all so much, first of all.
Yeah, not specifically, but just on the minors to give out way it's going on our side, like in the deserts crossing. To be honest, like as we said, framing our side, we just try to help. So, because I think to say minor, there are some, let's say, depend on what we call minors. So we don't ask years of people. We usually try just to help, give advice, and if you are in distress. So normally we don't get into categorization, but at least we know that it's very important. And with the lack of resource for us, sometimes it's always difficult to categorize and trying to have specific answer or assistance to the person. But I would like to thank now Borderline to give this opportunity, but also other organizations here in Germany that used to help us to bring such category, the importance, and try to work with them. We have Medical International also, we have Hopeful World. Otherwise, our job or everything that we are doing is based on donations. So we don't have particular, on the people going like from south to north, we don't have this categorization, because people, when they are trying to go trying to cross Niger toward the north, we just try to help to rescue or give assistance. But we now have a possibility to categorize from people that are pushed back, like from north to south, because even our documentation, mostly from people that are going top, is we document like with photos and video, like testimony, but we don't have statistic numbers, from if people are going toward the north. But when people are pushing back, here we have numbers. We have numbers of people that are pushed back from Algeria every week, every month we do a report, and also this categorization of female, male, minors. We recently have parts of our, let's say, coordination with a small center, SECOM, who try to bring psychosocial assistance to the most complicated cases, like minors or women that are sometimes victims of a lot of violation that you might know, because the case of women, thank you, raise it up, it's very difficult in the chain like migration. They are sometimes more vulnerable to the authorities, but also sometimes vulnerable to the same community of migrants, which is also important to mention. Yeah. So that's
Thank you so much, Martha. And thank you all for your presentations and for answering the questions. We'll also have a chance to ask more questions after the break that we will take now for 45 minutes. So we will meet here again at 3:45 and continue. Thank you.